2023 has been a great year as a photographer and filmmaker for me, but there's one thing I'm going to be changing up looking into 2024 when it comes to my clients. So at the end of every year, I like to reflect a bit on what was the year like for me. And this year was very diverse. I started working with many different clients across very different industries, and that's extremely positive, and they are very good steps in the right direction. But I also like to make a list on what is it I could improve looking into the new year. And this year, the biggest thing for me, it's going to be working into my relationship with my clients. I don't know if it ever happened to you, but you know this kind of client where you start working on something, some kind of project, and you set up certain conditions in the beginning, maybe you even sign a contract, but as the time goes by, that relationship starts changing a little bit, and from being a very professional relationship, it starts shifting towards this kind of acquaintance, friendship kind of thing. And this year I made a big mistake with several of my clients, which was letting this relationship change the conditions of my job. For several of these clients, I started putting so many more hours than I initially talked about. The communication started shifting as well towards late nights, weekends, and the treatment with each other was also a lot more unprofessional, and they probably asked a lot more from me when it came to the involvement in the project. This was a very big mistake for me because the budget didn't allow the extra hours, didn't allow the extra availability, which often was all the time. And that's something that was clearly stated in the beginning of the relationship and the contracts we signed. And so when this happened, these kind of projects start eating into your personal life and into other professional projects. But when the budget does not allow it, then it's not a very healthy relationship. Plus, setting the boundaries in the beginning were set for a reason. However, something that I learned this year is that when it comes to personal projects, meaning that the budgets come from particulars, individual people, it's usually a very good practice to try to create some kind of separation in that client provider relationship. In a way, setting these boundaries will be much healthier in the long run. And so reflecting on this point, I would rather work on projects that involve businesses or institutions or something that's not absolutely personal to somebody, just for this reason, because in the beginning it's kind of easier to set these limits and these boundaries, but then it's also easier to get these lines lost and start maybe confusing things, you know, like I can make an exception and one day I can answer your text on a Saturday evening, but whenever this becomes the norm, then it becomes a problem because we have set something in the beginning for the relationship to be healthy and we're not respecting it. So going into 2024, my plan will actually be to involve companies and institutions rather than personal or small businesses as clients. Even though I know that getting these clients is usually a bit harder, once you get them, it's usually for the longer term as well. The goal is to create relationships that will last long, meaning I'm gonna try to create recurring contracts that will last up to, I don't know, a year, 2 years, and a minimum of 6 months. I'm gonna try that. I'm not saying I'm gonna achieve it, but I am definitely going to try hard. On the other side, I'm also trying to build some business with YouTube and some other revenues coming from internet and trying to build an audience, and you know the drill. And then if there's some special needs or some personal project that I'm very passionate about, the plan is to take on these personal projects as a hobby or more as for fun, because I know that the emotional charge of these personal projects is usually higher, and with my experience I know where these project relationships lead to. Anyway, I am uploading every Sunday, and I know that the videos I'm uploading are usually in the short side and they are not super post-processed, but I'm trying to get consistent at it. And going into 2024, my plan is to keep going hard on YouTube. So if you have any comments, any constructive critiques, or what is it you would change or do differently, please let me know in the comments. If you want to know the 3 things that changed my business this year, please check the video on the card I'm going to put next. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you next week.